Hey, Louise here. This is where we're heading today. I love these blocks. Super simple, lots of layer cakes. It's scrappy. It has strips. It's everything you want in a scrappy quilt. So let me show you how this one goes together. I am so excited about these fabrics. Oh my gosh, you know I love florals. And look at this floral that I found online. And it's a what do I want to say, layer cake collection, but it's only 20. So it was less than half the price of what we would normally pay because these were on sale. So I got a really good deal. And I'll put a link below if it's something you want to take a look at and see if it's something that might work for you. But what I'm doing is I'm alternating some blocks, and this is going to be a group of blocks that are all floral centers. The others are going to be 9 patches. So I took my 10-inch layer cake and I cut these into 8-inch blocks. So I have an 8-inch square here. I cut 2 inches off the side here, and then I cut 2 inches off the top there, which left me with my 8-inch. And I've got a bunch of extra pieces over here, which makes me very happy. But this is only about 20, and because some of these were in strips, they're printed in just a half panel. Going to make a great charm square, but I didn't really want to put that in here where it was divided in half. So I'm going to cut those into charm squares for another project. And look at what I found. Remember this beautiful French rose quilt? I still had some rose petals and flowers. So this I'm going to mix in with this. So I'll have my full 25 blocks. And that's going to be terrific. That's going to work out gorgeous. They're all going to be beautiful, and I'm just so very happy. But the other thing I need to do now is put a border around these. I don't want this to join directly up to the 9 patch because that's a lot of seam matching. It's a lot of fussy business. But you know, these are busy fabrics, and the 9 patches made out of mostly these same fabrics are going to be really busy. So I'm putting a little border, like a sashing, around each block. Now, each block is going to have its own color sashing because I don't want them to be exactly the same. And what I'm getting at is there was another layer cake pack. Oh my gosh, look at this. And this is another one. There were 20 pieces, and it was on sale. And so what I've done is I'm taking 5 pieces. I had to reach over and grab one. And I'm going to group them, cut them into strips, and then I'm going to use these for the borders of my block, my square. So my strips are all going to be 2 inches. And I need to put these back because I did have them nice and straight. Now they're all nice and aligned. And what I'm going to do is cut them into 2-inch strips. So I'm going to sew, first I'll cut everything, I'm going to use my big blade, into 2-inch strips. And from there, I'm going to sew these strips together. You know, I'm just going to cut it this way. This makes more sense. And let me just do all this real quick. Not too quick because then I make mistakes, right? Let's see, 2. Now, I do not have a lot of fabric to spare for these prints. So what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to sew all the strips together into a long piece. And what I've done when I layered it here is I went from light to dark. So I have dark pieces, and then, oh my goodness, they're just all sticking to each other. Like this, and this, and this, and this. There we are. So as I stitch all these together into one long piece, as I'm sewing them around the border, they will transition going from the darkest to the lightest. And I'm just going to take one block and sew. And I'll get all these strips on. Then I'll go to the next strip, and I'll turn these to the next side. Sew. And I think it should work. So I'm just going to sew these end to end with a straight seam. Now, I'll tell you, normally when I do this, I absolutely always do the diagonal seam like this because I love the look of that transition of the fabrics. but I'm afraid I won't have enough fabric. I am really going to miss those little half square triangles. So what I'm going to do first is sew all these into one long strip. I've got 5 different lengths of them. And then I will start putting them on the block. And once I get to that point, I'm going to show you how this will all go together. But I'm so excited. These colors are absolutely gorgeous. I get to reuse more of those pretty roses. Oh my goodness, that quilt still tugs at my heart. I love that French rose quilt. Okay, anything else? Oh, and then just in case I have needing a few more, and you never know when you get down to the end of a quilt. This is one that I did on a potato chip block. You may remember this was a center block, so I have some of these. So I am pulling scraps from all over, and I haven't even shown you all the fabric for the 9 patches that I'm doing. These are all more of the roses, and while I did buy this layer cake, I couldn't pass it up. These colors are gorgeous. I love the way these blend, and it's going to be perfect. And it was on sale, and so I paid a lot less, so that's okay. I'm giving myself permission. But let me go ahead and do this. I'll be right back. This quilt is going to need about 24, 25 9 patches, and I am ready to go. And so I have my 9 squares, 3 inches. This is going to be my center. All the centers are going to have a similar, either this one or there's another that's sort of a red and green. And these are checks, and it's more of a plaid. And I just want to kind of play with these and see how they turn out. I have a lot of different colors you can see here. And so I'm just going to kind of pick them randomly if that's possible. Sometimes I tend to want to, make very specific choices as I go. But let's just do this. Remember, keep your finger on that thread when you start. That'll keep your thread from knotting up. And we are chain piecing. So I'm going to go to my next one here. And this is going to be my center. So in the second row, I want to make sure my center is the middle block. All right, we'll give that one a sew. And now I come down to the bottom, and okay, I'm going to put that in the middle because these are lighter. And let's see, I kind of like it this way. All right. That's one block. We have 3 put together. And what I'm going to do is I chain stitch each 9 patch completely rather than go through and do all the pairs and then come back, because these flowers, like in this particular case, I have like 8 different ones I can use. And if I wait till the end, I may have all of these in the same place in the blocks. Is that critical? Probably not. But I do want to make sure that my blocks are spread out. And so I want to make sure that everything in that regard works really well. And my thread seems to be okay. Let's see what's going on. Here we go. Okay. And I will put this one right here. I love these roses. These florals are so pretty. And we'll put the last one in right here. So that's one 9 patch, and you see how quickly it goes. Now I'm going to chain piece a bunch of them to this point. And then what I'm going to do is join them, sew them across their seams. So let's see what we have here. These are some different prints. Okay, let's put a white one here and line that up. And we'll do the yellow. Okay. And then the last pair, I'll put this here. Now this has a blue background, kind of a blue-green, is why I'm putting it in the middle. It'll break up all of the cream color. Okay, so this one I have all 3. Now I'm going to come in and finish this one. And let's see what I have. They're all pretty much the same color. So let's put this one here. I just like to spread color around. That's, just sort of my thing as I'm joining the blocks. Not that it's that critical. Oh, see what happens when you don't hold your thread? It gets all mangled. Let's try that again. All right. Hold that thread down. Now, I know a lot of folks like using a little piece of scrap fabric. Uh-oh. I think my machine needs to be threaded. I'll be right back. All right, let's try this again. My thread popped out of the tension arm, and it was just making a mess of things. Here, that's better. And let's see. These are pretty much the same. And now we're finished, but I happen to have some more chain pieced 9 patches. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. So here's one 9 patch here. And yeah, this is the other center I was telling you about. So I have the green check that we just did, and then these. Now, to do over, I wouldn't have those 3 pink in the same place, but you know what? It really doesn't matter because there's so many flowers and so much color in this quilt, no one will know. The key here is that the 2 outside rows, we want them to be going in the same direction for nesting seams. So I'm going to have this seam, actually I'll have it facing up so I can nest it. And the one down below is going to go in the opposite direction. So I will just finger press this upward like that, and finger press this downward. And I finger press from the back side. That way I don't get little creases in the seam where I run my fingernails. Sometimes it can get a little, what do I want to say, bunched up just from your fingernail dragging. All right, so I'm going to have this one go up and this one go down. I want to make sure I'm right in the right spot. Now, because I chain piece these, I can't open it up all the way, so if you need to see, go ahead and cut that chain piecing. That's okay as you're going along. That's not going to affect anything because these stitches over the seams are going to ensure that everything stays right where it needs to be. So again, I want to cut these so you can see. I'm coming along and I want to make sure that my blocks line up and my seams are nested. And when I have the seam on the top going towards the presser foot, that presser foot, as it comes across, gives it just enough of a little nudge that it kind of puts those 2 seams together really nicely. All right, and then let's do the other one. We'll do the same. So everything's going in the same direction. This goes up. And these go down. Those are already down nicely. Okay. And we'll start this one here. So none of this is difficult. It's just about managing, putting it all together. And I find by having little individual piles of 9 blocks ready to go, makes it easier for me because then I can focus on each one. Now, if you're going completely scrappy as opposed to me that I'm using a specific number of fabrics in each one that replicate across the other blocks, that's where scrappy comes in really handy because at this point, none of that would matter. And you can just put anything wherever you want just so it doesn't duplicate next to each other, but even then, it probably wouldn't be that noticeable. Okay, so let's see what we have here together. So here's one 9 patch with one side sewn. Here's another 9 patch with one side sewn. So these only need the last side. And then these here have been, let me cut, this is where I had to rethread my machine. These here are ready to go together. So I'm going to cut them apart at 3 so that each 9 patch is by itself. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'll start sewing these. All right, then you see how this all goes together. When we have our finished 9 patch, there's one more step for these blocks. These are going to join up in an alternating pattern with another block of florals. And I just don't want all those florals kind of tumbling into each other in the same block side by side. So I'm going to put a little sashing and make a border around each one. And I think that's going to be really pretty. Now what's nice about the 9 patches we've made, other than pressing them to look nice, it doesn't matter which way we press all the seams, as long as it works well for you, because these seams have this binding around it, and that means it is not, is that straight? It looks a little crooked. That means it's not going to join up with these side seams. So these 9 patches don't have to match up with anything, and they are just going to fit side by side. Just pull this in here. Make sure my seams go in the right way. And here's my third one. Let's get this to line up here. Now I'm putting this sashing on the way you would the courthouse step log cabin. I'm going to put the same size piece on each side. So as I said, these blocks were 3 inches, and they're going to finish at 2.5 each one. But right now this block measures 8 inches. So I'm putting an 8-inch piece here, and I'm going to put an 8-inch piece on the other side right here. And then we're going to sew this up, and then I'm going to measure my block. I think the measurement I'm going for is about 11 or 11 and a half. I don't remember. I have to check my notes. Of course, if we have this finishing, let's see, what did I say? We cut it at 8, so it's a 7.5, and then I add 2-inch. So these are each 2 inches, and put this on here. That'll give us a 1.5-inch border, which I think will be really nice. This one, and you can see, just chain stitch and work your way through, and you can get through these 20, what am I thinking? I think 24 of these and 25 of the other. And it goes pretty quick. The others are very simple because there's no piecing. It's just a focal fabric. Make sure, there we go, that I like. It's just a loose floral pattern, and it can stand alone really well. So I am going to use that as the alternating block in between, but it's going to have a different sashing. So I've got a lot going on in this quilt, but I think it's going to be pretty wonderful. I'm excited. Let me get this end down here so I can make sure my length is good. Okay, so now I'm going to press these before I add my final border on this, or sashing, and I want to do that to make sure that these lie flat and there's no folds in these seams. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll be back and I'll show you how we finish this. My 9 patches now are pressed, and they have the borders on each side. They look beautiful, and I'm just going to add a border to the top and bottom. We're putting this together like the courthouse steps log cabin, where you do the sides first and then you turn it and do the other 2 sides, or the top and bottom. I have my strip ready to be attached. I have it all lined up, and we're going to go from one end to the other, and this will go pretty quick. I just want to make sure these seams go to the outside, and for me, that just makes it easy. All right, there's one, and again, we just chain piece all this together, and it goes very quickly. And before you know it, we are going to have 49 total blocks. I'll show you here in a minute how we're going to finish the others. I think it's all going to be so pretty together. Just always want to make sure I kind of pull this over to make sure I'm not too far away from that bottom seam, or seam allowance, I should say. Okay, I'll get these pressed, and then these are going to be finished. And then it's time to do the others. And those are even simpler. All you have to do is add the outside border so you can see how fast this quilt is. I love these blocks. I wish I could have had this quilt finished for you today, but that just wasn't going to happen. There was too much going on. And I ran out of some of the fabric. I did find another piece that I could add. Remember, I was worried about the greens. And it wasn't but a couple pieces, maybe 20 inches. An extra layer cake would have done the trick. But I just want to show you how pretty these are. Aren't they just wonderful? Oh my gosh. And I love the fact that we have the green around the flowers. It just makes it look like a pretty little garden like this. And then we have the pink edging. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. And then I put in some of my roses as well. Look at that. Yes. Oh, I used it all. I'm so excited. I will get this put together. I think I need to make a pattern for this. But in the meantime, enjoy this beauty. We are going to have such fun with this in the future. There's so many other ways I'm already thinking about making this because it is such a simple quilt. Christmas is coming. Maybe we have some ideas. I don't know about you, but they're coming to me. But thank you for being here today. It's been great fun. I loved sharing this with you. It's been such a pleasure to have you join me and watch as I pull all this together through all the shenanigans that it took. But look at this. You know what it makes me think of? Of course, potato chip blocks. Look at that. Oh my gosh, I just can't get away from them. But that's okay. It works beautifully. Have a fantastic rest of your day.